This is the history of Halloween, and if you wait to the end, you'll find out why people dress in costume. The origins of Halloween date all the way back to the ancient Celts of Ireland, who celebrated the new year on November 1st. That day marked the transition from the warm, fruitful summer months to the cold, dark winter, a period that was most often associated with death. Hence the traditional colors of orange and black. For the Celts, black symbolized the death of summer, and orange represented the harvest season. So on October 31st, the night before the new year, they celebrated what was known as Samhain. It was a night when the boundary between the living world and the world of the dead became thin, allowing ghosts to return and walk the earth. These meddlesome ghosts damaged crops and caused trouble, but the blurred line to the spirit also made it easier for the Celtic Druid priests to make predictions about the upcoming year. Those same prophecy-speaking Druid commemorated the night by building huge bonfires that became the hub for the evening's activity. People gathered around these bonfires in costumes to tell each other's fortune, commune with recently deceased loved ones and their ancestors, enjoy in a big feast and celebration, and made lanterns out of gourds. These bonfires attracted insects, which also attracted bats who feasted on the insects, solidifying the status of these creatures of the night. These pagan traditions continued until Christianity extended its influence into the Celtic lands, and the celebration became generally toned down. The name Halloween comes from Christians' All Souls Day, which is also known as All Hallows and is celebrated on November 1st. And folks began to call Samhain All Hallows Eve, which the name was eventually shortened to Halloween. As for black cats, the idea of being spooked by felines dates back to the Middle Ages. Back then, many people believed that witches could escape and avoid detection by turning themselves into black cats. Want to know how trick-or-treating came about? The custom came from Ireland, where young people once took part in a tradition called guising, when they would dress in these costumes and then sing, tell a joke, or perform another sort of trick before collecting a treat of fruit, nuts, or coins. As for carving pumpkins, the Irish had a tradition of carving scary faces into turnips or potatoes and placing them near doorways or windows to scare away wandering spirits. One of these spirits was known as Stingy Jack, a man who had outsmarted the devil and was able to avoid going to hell, but couldn't get into the Christian heaven, and he instead wandered the earth. In trying to avoid Jack and his sinful dealings, the Irish idea of jack-o'-lanterns came to be. In time, the Irish brought this tradition to America and found that pumpkins, a fruit native to North America, made for even better jack-o'-lanterns. Now, that reason for dressing in costume that I told you about, well, the veil between the physical and the soul realms was so thin that if a recently deceased person had unfinished business with someone, dressing in costume would be able to confuse and deceive the spirit, and the spirit wouldn't be able to find the person it was after. Stay fucking savage.